Welcome to The Gaze, where we break down the latest and most crucial developments on the war against Ukraine and beyond. Today we're diving into high-stakes diplomacy in Istanbul, the latest drone strikes shaking Russian bases in Crimea, and solid support for Ukraine from Norway and Poland's military aid. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on our socials for the sharpest updates you won't get anywhere else. Trilateral talks kicked off in Istanbul with Ukraine, the US, and Turkey at the table, a key diplomatic push to find a way out of Russia's war against Ukraine. The Turkish Foreign Ministry set the schedule. Ukraine, the US, and Turkey started at 10:45 a.m. Russia? They were slated for 12:30, because, well, Russia's always fashionably late.
Event. I'm just coming out of Antalya. We had a very successful meeting with the foreign ministers of NATO. We have widespread support for an enormous increase in defense spending, which is necessary to keep us safe from the Russian threat, the Chinese military build-up, terrorism, but also widespread agreement that we need to do much more when it comes to defense industrial production. And of course, support for Ukraine, making sure that they have what is needed to stay in the fight and to bring this terrible war to a lasting and durable peace.
But do you have deadline for Putin? Because ball on his side, but he still don't play with this ball.
Yes, he's playing games, which shows that they are not serious about this.
But do you have deadline?
No, I mean, we have been clear about the ceasefire, that we want to see ceasefire before we see the talks, but we haven't seen any steps on their side. And like I said, we have the tools, which is our economic tools to put the pressure, but also political tools to put the pressure on Russia.
The US team includes Michael Anton. Ukraine's delegation is led by Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha and Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. Russia sent Vladimir Medinsky, a Putin aide, and, surprisingly, the head of Russia's Writers' Alliance. Yes, you heard that right. Zelenskyy met with Erdogan and then left Turkey as promised.
Instead of Putin coming to Turkey to meet with President Zelenskyy and have a serious conversation about ending the war and restoring peace, all we hear from Russia is personal insults of the Ukrainian president. Ukrainian Foreign Ministry spokesman Georgy Tihyi.
Zelenskyy was ready to meet Putin directly. After all, it was Putin's own insistence at first. But Putin backed out. Instead, Zelenskyy sat down with Erdogan, sparking hope for Turkish help in diplomacy. He called Putin's absence a sign of disrespect, not just to Ukraine, but to Turkey and to the US as well. And more than that, it's a sign Putin's losing control on his own narrative. History shows dictators fall when their grip slips. Don't believe it? Just watch. Now the trilateral talks are being held with the participation of Andriy Sybiha, Ukraine's foreign minister, Marco Rubio, US Secretary of State, Hakan Fidan, Turkish foreign minister, also Andriy Yermak, head of the office of the president of Ukraine. A broader meeting, including Russia, was scheduled, but no one expects genuine efforts from Russia to resolve the war they started. Despite Putin's no-show and Zelenskyy departure, Ukraine confirms that Defense Minister Rustem Umerov will lead direct talks with Russia. We'll be tracking those results closely and keep you updated as soon as the news break. And now, turning our eyes back to Europe, our correspondent and good friend Saken Aymurzaev is reporting from Rome, where defense ministers from European and NATO countries are meeting.
The fourth E5 defense ministers meeting in Rome is underway. The defense minister of Italian Republic, Guido Crosetto, the host of this meeting, welcomed in Palazzo Aeronautico, the headquarters of Italian Air Forces, his colleagues from France, from Germany, from Poland and the United Kingdom. Also, European Union representatives are here, and NATO colleagues, NATO Defense Assistants of the General Secretary of NATO. The E5 Defense Ministers Format Summit is an informal cooperation format established in response to current geopolitical challenges aimed at reinforcing bridges over NATO and European allies, particularly in the field of European security and defense. It places special focus on supporting Ukraine during Russia's ongoing war. British head of Department of Defense John Healey expressed his opinion on the failed diplomatic processes and Russia's true intentions. The initiative represents a significant step towards greater strategic autonomy for Europe in handling its own security matters while maintaining strong ties with NATO and the European Union. A consequence of the America First policy of the new American administration. The Rome meeting follows previous E5 sessions held in Berlin previous year and in Warsaw and Paris this year earlier, confirming the five nations' shared commitment to continue dialogue and cooperation in the defense domain, which is so needed right now. From Rome, Sakenay Murzaev.
The E5 Defense Ministers Summit is an informal but vital cooperation platform created to build bridges between NATO and European allies. It focuses especially on strengthening European security and defense and supporting Ukraine in Russia's ongoing war of attrition. This initiative is a major step for Europe's strategic autonomy in security, even as it keeps strong ties to NATO and the EU. A reaction partly driven by the America First stance of the current US administration. The Rome meeting follows earlier E5 summits held in Berlin, Warsaw, and Paris, underscoring the shared commitment of these five nations to ongoing dialogue and cooperation in defense. Right now, that commitment couldn't be more necessary. On the morning of May 16th, a series of powerful explosions rocked temporarily occupied Crimea, hitting key Russian military bases in Yalta, Alupka, Sevastopol, and Perevalne. Residents in Sevastopol were the first to hear blasts, which locals say were caused by drones. The attacks carried on into the early morning, targeting Russia's military airfields at Belbek and Kacha. Explosions were also reported near the military facility in Perevalne, where the 126th Separate Guards Coastal Defense Brigade is stationed. The noise was so intense that locals describe it as shaking the entire area. According to Krymsky Veter, an ammunition depot caught fire in Perevalne, blocking nearby roads and sending a convoy of ambulances and emergency responders rushing to the scene. The guerrilla movement Atesh reports confirmed fatalities among Russian military personnel during these various strikes.
Agents of Atesh are recording strikes on Russian military facilities in Crimea. Our agents recorded explosions in the area of the settlement of Perevalne, including at the military base of the 126th Separate Guards, Coastal Defense Brigade, and the 8th Separate Artillery Regiment. There is information about Russian soldiers killed while on duty at the depot. From the Atesh telegram post.
Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, added that after the overnight drone attack, fires are still raging and ammunition continues to detonate. Let's call it a Russian fireworks show dedicated to Ukrainian Vyshivanka Day, celebrated just yesterday. And by the way, I'm wearing Vyshivanka right now. Norway is set to complete delivery of all its promised F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine by the end of 2025, though exact numbers of planes already in Ukraine remain undisclosed. Norwegian Defense Minister Thor Sandvik confirmed the timeline, noting the delivery is part of a multinational effort led by Denmark, the Netherlands, and the US. Some jets are already in Kyiv, with the rest expected soon.
The transfer of Norway's F-16s is proceeding on schedule, but for the sake of Ukraine's operational security and following consultations with the Ukrainian side, we are not disclosing the number of aircraft delivered. With this contribution, Norway is helping to strengthen Ukraine's air defense system in cooperation with other members of the Air Defense Coalition. Tore O. Sandvik, in a comment to NRK.
Last year alone, Norway allocated an additional 1.3 billion kroner to support Ukrainian air defense forces. We sincerely thank you, Norway. This aid is crucial and deeply appreciated. Poland is preparing its 47th military aid package for Ukraine, worth around 200 million euros, according to Piotr Lukashevich, head of the Polish embassy in Ukraine. Lukashevich confirmed ongoing talks for Poland to transfer Soviet-made MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine, a move made possible as Poland phases out these jets for newer F-16s.
I personally firmly believe that Ukraine will emerge from this war as the victor. This is also the position of the Polish government, the Polish parliament, and the overwhelming majority of Poles. Ukraine must win this war, and it will win, and Poland will support you in this. Of course, I can't predict what will happen in 5 or 10 years or who will win the elections, but I can assure you the current state of relations is very good. Piotr Lukasiewicz, head of the Embassy of Poland in Ukraine, in an interview with European Pravda.
He also stressed that ties between the two countries will remain strong, despite anti-Ukrainian rhetoric from some Polish politicians ahead of upcoming elections. And so far, Poland's support stands firm. Thank you, Poland. So, today we covered the tense Istanbul talks, bold drone attacks deep in Crimea, and the vital military support flowing in from Norway and Poland. The stakes have never been higher, and the world is watching closely. What do you think about these developments? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for more with the gaze.